So this evening I want to talk about limitations, and I want to question whether they're actually real or not, whether our limitations are just in our heads. I'm going to talk about a couple of different things, and I'm going to ask a few questions, but I want to start by sharing one person's story. Her name is Sarah Doherty. She sounds Irish, but she isn't. She's American, and she currently lives in Canada. Sarah's life was changed literally overnight. When she was 13, she was hit by a drunk driver, and she became an amputee on the scene. Sarah lost her hip. She lost everything. She lost everything from the hip joint. And at 13 years of age, she had to figure out a new way of being. 6 months after Sarah lost her leg, she decided, do you know what? I'm going to learn to ski. I'm going to learn to ski on one leg. Why not? So she did. She set it up as a goal for herself, and she got so good at it, she actually ended up moving to Canada, where she joined the disabled skiing group, and she became really, really good at it. Sarah then went on to conquer numerous mountains, one of which was Mount McKinley. Some of you may know it. It stands at 20,000 feet. She did this all on crutches. She also walked the Camino, which is 800 kilometers. If that wasn't enough, Sarah wanted a proper career. She didn't just want to be, a victim. She didn't just want to sit on her bum all day at a desk. She wanted a real career on top of everything else that she was doing. So she became an occupational therapist. And if that wasn't enough, her and her partner then set up a company called SideStix. If you're wondering what SideStix are, this is one of them. They are hands down the most amazing crutches I have ever owned, and I've been a crutch user for a very long time. They're made of carbon fiber. Every element on this crutch can be changed out. They are so strong, and I know this for a fact because last year when I was in Malta, I dropped this very one off a 3-story building. I may have had a few sherries at the time. And it was completely fine. I actually have a photograph of, I think I had about 11 pairs of crutches lined up against a wall. I was going through them, every day nearly, I was changing crutches. Sarah decided to help herself and to help people like me by setting up an amazing company. And she really has. I got these in 2014, and they have opened up so many doors for me. So essentially, Sarah's story and Sarah's existence has changed my life. Sarah is just one example of what you can do when you're faced with adversity. She made that choice, and she chose to live an amazing life. But was she born that way? Was she born with this extra special thing within her? Or did her accident make her that person? Now, I've only spoken to Sarah over Skype because, as I mentioned, she lives in Canada. So I don't know if she was always like this. But it's a question that we kind of, we've probably always wondered. Say the likes of famous people or athletes, singers. We assume that they're born with that star quality. And for that reason, we can't really relate to them. We think, oh, there's no point in me trying to be that person because they were born that way. But is that actually true? I myself was very ordinary as a child. I had no real goals. I had no real aspirations. Probably the most exciting thing to happen to me as a teenager was a cancer diagnosis. Ewing sarcoma were 2 words that were uttered to me when I was 16 back in 2002. And those 2 words have changed everything for me. I spent 2003 and 2004 receiving treatment, chemotherapy, radiotherapy, and having invasive surgery over in the UK. I'm not going to lie, I've had a hard life. You probably notice I keep going up and down. I can be as tall or as short as I want, depending on which leg I stand on. I currently have 11 centimetre leg length discrepancy. I have chronic nerve damage, muscle damage, and I've also been told that I myself will lose my leg. This all stemmed from a cancer diagnosis. That's tough. And again, like Sarah, nobody would have given out to me if I decided, you know what? I don't want to have a big, exciting life. I'm just happy to be here. Thankfully, I've been cancer-free ever since, which is amazing, but life certainly hasn't been easy. And it took me a little while to realize that I'm not somebody that just wants to have the average life. I want to get out there. I want to see things. I want to meet amazing people like Sarah, and I want to push myself. But that all started with something that wanted to limit me, and that was cancer. I've been actually very lucky in that I've been given that big light bulb moment. Not everybody has that. And I actually think that people that are ill should consider themselves lucky for that reason. We've been given that second chance, and it's a brilliant motivator. However, we all have something that we lean on. What is our crutch? For the everyday person, it could be something like our children, our jobs, our finances. It could be any one of those things. It could be all three. It could be something, that one thing that's stopping you from pushing yourself forward and really, really reaching for the stars. My crutch is actually my crutch. I used this as my excuse for so long. And I didn't realize that until a specific moment in time. But for years after I got over my illness, I moseyed through a couple of years. I did go back to college, and I was determined that I wanted to go back to education. And I did travel a little bit, but at the back of my mind, I always saw myself as different and as somebody that couldn't do what they truly wanted to do because I was still on crutches. I usually walk with two, but for the purpose of this evening, I just chose one because I wanted hands-free to wave at you and stuff. I realized after a very important meeting with my consultant in Dublin that I hadn't been living, I'd been merely existing. And how he helped me realize that was by telling me that I was actually going to stay on crutches for the rest of my life and that my situation was going to get worse, not better. That moment was actually the kick up the bum that I needed. It opened up so many doors in my mind that I had just closed down. So many times I thought back to the amount of times that I'd said, once I get off the crutches, I'll try this. Once I get better, I'll try that. And to be told that, well, actually, that's not the case, was amazing. About 3 weeks after that meeting, I set up in a campaign called Fighting Fit For Ewings, and I wanted to base the campaign around fun physical challenges. I'd faced a lot of challenges, both physically and mentally, over the years previous, and I wanted this to be something that was motivating for others, that would highlight the importance of exercise for rehabilitation, and that would also obviously raise awareness for Ewings, but would push me personally. It would really push me and see really what my limitations were. At that stage, back in 2013, hadn't really been in a gym, hadn't really done much in general, hadn't really pushed myself exercise-wise, and realized actually as time went on that I'd been doing it all wrong. But meeting up with a physiotherapist and a personal trainer, between the three of us, we devised a 3-month plan, almost like an experiment. And we said, if my pain is a little bit better at the end of this 3 months, let's see what else can happen. And after those 3 months, I was off all pain medication, bar one, which isn't even for pain, so it doesn't really count. But what had happened was that I started thinking of myself and my abilities differently. I started remembering what it was like to have fun and to push myself. And I started planning for bigger challenges. So we started off in the gym just doing normal exercises. And my first challenge involved climbing Muckish Mountain here in Donegal. It was both a success and a failure, but it taught me loads. It took me 6 hours to do it, and my hands were absolute bits afterwards, but it taught me loads. And from there, I've been so lucky through the campaign to experience some absolutely extraordinary things, none of which I would have even thought to attempt had I not got sick in the first place. I've scaled a route of the Solheimjokull Glacier in Iceland and abseiled into a 45-foot ice cave while I was there. I attempted a Guinness World Record in Holland. That's another story. Some of you know it, my God. I have done mountain climbing, rock climbing, and as Greg mentioned, I'm hoping to do a massive challenge next year, which I'm going to mention a bit later on. Obviously, with everything that you do, every one of us, it's not as easy as just, right, I'm going to do it, and it's going to happen, and it's going to be a success. They say if at first you don't succeed, try and try again. That's a lovely little saying, and it's a nice quote to put in your Instagram, but is it actually something we live by? If we're realistic and if we're honest with ourselves, if at first you don't succeed, do we actually give up? How many of you here set a New Year's resolution this year? When January 1st came around, did you think, right, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to get into the gym, I'm going to, new year, new me, all of this? How many of you can honestly say right now this evening that you're still on that New Year's resolution goal? If you aren't, it's fine. It may be that when you set that goal, it was just a little bit too far ahead of where you are now. Who knows? There could have been many reasons. But it might just be a case that it didn't work out. I don't think failure is something that we should be embarrassed of. I don't think it's something we should shy away from. In order to succeed, we have to fail. There is absolutely no two ways about it. I'm going to be honest, I don't think children should get medals for participation. Because why should they? If little Timmy comes last in the race and he gets a medal, he's going to think he did something right, as in he's won. What if little Georgina comes first and he's looking at his medal, and then he looks over at Georgina and she came first and she has the same medal? What kind of message are we giving Timmy? He's going to go home that evening and think, that's okay, we got the same thing, I don't need to try. Well, I'm sorry, Timmy, but you came last, so you're not getting a medal. And I'm not saying that in a horrible way. I'm just saying that it's okay to fail, and especially teaching young people this is so important because we have to teach them how to cope with failure. When things don't go your way, you don't throw your dolls out of the pram and have a huff. You figure out a way to improve what you're doing, and you move forward. Children are like that. We are all like that. We have to learn that from a young age, though. When I set up the campaign, there were so many times that I failed miserably. With training for this 4-peak challenge, there has been millions of times that I failed miserably. I climbed Slieve Donard a couple of weeks ago or a couple of months ago, and I had to turn around because I couldn't keep going. My head wasn't in it, the winds were really high, and I had to call it. It wasn't safe to continue, I had to turn around. But I didn't see that as a failure. I thought, you know what, that's all part of training. If I do that on the day, fair enough, that's not great. But in training, it's okay to turn around. Another thing I want to mention is, with going back to the New Year's resolution, did we maybe not succeed because we set a goal that was a little bit too up there, without any real thought of how we're going to get from here to up there? For example, if you want to lose 10 stone in like 6 weeks because you ate like a pig over Christmas and you can't fit into your dress, I'm sorry to tell you, but you're going to fail. If weight loss is the primary goal, and women especially, I don't want to seem that I'm being sexist or anything, but I know from personal experience that women really do struggle with this because we focus on the wrong thing. If our goal is to lose weight and to lose weight alone, how quickly do we start stepping on the scales every time we go to the bathroom? How quickly is our mind completely consumed with food? Every ad we see on the TV, we're drawn to the food-related things. Every time we fall off the wagon and have a McDonald's, we feel terrible about ourselves. The whole thing is so negative. I want to suggest that you look at it from a different point of view. Instead of setting a goal to lose weight, why not set a goal to do something like a triathlon? What if your New Year's resolution for 2018 was, I'm going to do my very first triathlon this year? And right now, I don't know what a triathlon is. I haven't a clue. Is it swimming, skiing, abseiling? Who knows? I know that it's 3 things, but that's all I know. That's a huge goal. If you set that as your goal, what do you think is going to happen as a lovely side effect? You're obviously going to lose weight. So instead of focusing on the food and this and that and the other, you're now over here in this really positive space. You're meeting with people that are in the triathlon sphere. You're learning, you're educating yourself, you're having fun, you're networking. There's so much more good stuff happening over here compared to the lonely, I really want a whisper bar over here. And within this, within your big goal of the triathlon, you can then further break it down. So instead of thinking, oh my God, a triathlon, when you figure out what a triathlon is, it's 3, cycling, running, and swimming. You can think, right, if I'm going to start at day 1 and think I have to do a triathlon, that's a huge task. Can I do this? And then your mind is just filled with doubts. How about thinking, right, I'm not a very strong swimmer. So for the next month, I'm going to focus solely on swimming. I'm going to get into the pool every day, even if it's to just splash about and make a bit of a fool of myself. That'll be my routine for this month. Then next month, I'm going to get out on the bike and I'm going to aim to go a little bit further every single day. If you break down the big goal to little, small, bite-sized goals, suddenly limitations aren't as big of a deal. Suddenly what you're capable of doing is almost mind-blowing. I know this from personal experience. As I mentioned in the beginning, I am no way born with special whatever. I was born a very ordinary girl. I'm about to take on the biggest challenge of my life. 4 peaks in 24 hours. I don't genuinely know if I can do it. I want to raise €50,000 for 3 cancer charities, one of which I have a personal connection to, the Ross Nugent Foundation, and I'd encourage you to look them up because they are doing absolutely amazing work. I've broken it down because 4 peaks in one day, even now, is too much. It blows my mind. So instead, we're doing it mountain by mountain. I'm going to the gym. I'm doing my classes. In between that, me and my mum, who's here this evening, are on the road doing walking. Simple things, but put together, amount to an amazing thing. On July 21st, I really, really, truly hope that I'll become the first crutch user to climb 4 of our Irish mountain peaks in 24 hours and raise at least €50,000 in doing so, and I hope that you'll all donate. I know where you all live. No, I don't really. I don't know right now if I can do it, but I'm doing everything in my power to make it at least something I can try to do. What I would say to you is, after you leave here this evening, if there's something, anything at all, that you really want to do, but you're scared to do it, try and use some of the things that I've said to you. Break it down. Before you know it, you could find yourself achieving absolutely amazing things that right now seem just so far beyond. I wish you the best of luck. Thank you very much.